I was one of the Native American children, adopted at birth and removed from our country's Indian reservation system. I was raised in a small middle-class farming community but was never told of my true American Indian heritage. It was still taboo back in those early days. The years passed, and in 1987 I lost both parents. While going through their personal belongings, my wife discovered my adoption papers and she began a search. 5 years later, I was reunited with my biological Lakota family living on the Lower Brule Sioux Indian Reservation of South Dakota. I am a son of two mothers and a product of two worlds that had collided, but I have an equal amount of love and pride for both. I'm Paul LaRoche, and the stories you are about to see are an attempt to share this true American story of a hidden heritage. Over the years, while working within the music and entertainment industry, I had heard reference to a group called the Cherokee Youth Choir. The Cherokee National Youth Choir performs traditional and contemporary songs in the Cherokee language. The choir was founded in the year 2000 as a way to keep tribal youth involved with Cherokee language and culture. The group has become a living symbol to the world at large, demonstrating that Cherokee language and culture continues to thrive in modern society. The Cherokee Youth Choir consists of Cherokee middle and high school students who live in the northeastern Oklahoma communities. The students compete in auditions every year for a place in the choir. The choir has consistently produced new music CDs every year. I had heard that they had received many awards and my curiosity got the best of me. So I set up an appointment to meet the directors, Mary Kay Henderson and Kathy Sierra. Here's the interview.
Typical week, we would answer a lot of phone calls. Kathy handles, you met Kathy earlier, and she handles all of our distribution, and we may make some phone calls regarding that. We take requests for the youth choir to come sing. We'll work on, like if I select a song, or we're still trying to incorporate new music into the choir and get them doing things that haven't just been repeated over and over and over again. There's importance in that, and yet you want to make sure that you're moving forward, all the time. And so we select music, we listen to music, we just work on those different, getting ready for the next week's rehearsal and getting ready for the next performance that we have, and just general upkeep on 40 young people. They are all in school, and they're from a 14-county area. So we have some students that even for rehearsal drive 2 hours one way for rehearsal. So that's a 4-hour driving commitment per week. And so we try to be respectful of their time, their money. And we may do a community event in one of the different communities and ask just the students around that general community to come and be a part of that performance. As far as the youth choir is concerned, we try not to schedule more than 2 per month. We're not usually very successful at that because at the last minute someone always calls, and it's a great cause, and we just sometimes just have to say no. And oh, it is, because you want to do those things. You want to share your culture, and you want to encourage people and do all those things, and we love to sing, so it is hard to turn them down. But sometimes you're just tired. We do auditions on the first Tuesday of January every year, and we notify the students by that Friday if they will be coming in. If you've been in the choir previously, you can audition in December. And so during the month of December, Kathy and I are working over the contracts with the children. The young people sign contracts. And, well, we just want a high standard of conduct. This is not just about being a good singer. We want to be able to take you on the road and know that you're not going to do something silly,
I am a language program for the Cherokee National Youth Choir, and I coordinate travel for the kids and the director and myself, and everywhere the choir goes, we go. Well, this is the 10th year. The chief seen it back when he started it as the chief and got two ladies to start it, and they phased out of the program, and then that's when me and Mary Kay came in and been working at it for, I guess, going on probably 8 years now.
And it's, every once in a while I get a little flack for it because I'm kind of old school in that area. I grew up traveling in youth choirs and at my church and in my school. But I had some great directors that held us by a short rein. And so I've tried to instill the same thing in the young people that we work with. That's what's so wonderful about working with Kathy, is that we are very like-minded in our ideas of what is respectful and what shouldn't be done or what should be done. And so the chief is very notorious for saying that an unexpected consequence of this youth choir, we thought we were doing music and we thought we were doing language, but what happened is we found that we were creating leaders. And that is so very true. We find that a lot of the students who stay with the choir and graduate, they're going on and being very involved in tribal activities, tribal government even, in their different colleges. They're leaders of different groups, and they have a lot more self-confidence in who they are and their ability to step out and not be afraid. They've sung for the president. They're not afraid. Oh, that's no big deal, I have 4 NAMIs, and they are usually they're all for best gospel and inspirational. You were talking earlier about the music and why we select gospel primarily. The songs that have been handed down in Cherokee and that have survived this time are the gospel songs. There are songs that are in Cherokee that are maybe more for the stomp dances, which is a sacred dance, but because being respectful of that community of people, they have asked that those songs not be sung in public and for performance purposes. And so we respect that. But we love to sing our gospel songs. And we find that a lot of these have been translated since the early 1800s because of where the Cherokees were located there in North Carolina and along that eastern seaboard, that there was early contact with the European missionaries. And so a lot of those tunes, the Cherokees would write a song and would put it to different tunes because a lot of the hymns are metered the same way. And so we'll sing the same words to, take, for instance, Amazing Grace. It's really, the Cherokee song is the second coming of Christ. And it's sung to the tune of Amazing Grace. It is sung to a tune called At the Cross, one called There Is a Name I Love to Hear, and even the Christmas song, It Came Upon a Midnight Clear. And so, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. And we've done entire Christmas albums. Well, it's Labor Day weekend, the first weekend in September. It always transpires that weekend, and it's like a huge family reunion for the Cherokee families, and everyone comes to Tahlequah. And we have events that really start 2 and 3 weeks in advance of that. In fact, our Cherokee Youth Choir is going to really start off the month this year. On August the 5th, we're doing a large reunion concert with all of our alumni for the last 10 years, and at least we've invited them, and then the current choir. So we'll be doing that in Tahlequah. And then there will be car shows. There will be cornstalk shoot. There will be children's activities, craft shows, quilt shows, art shows, a parade. And then our chief on Saturday morning of that weekend delivers the State of the Nation address. And he addresses all of the people who have gathered into Tahlequah. And then also it's usually broadcast, for different ones. And he just kind of lets you know what's going on and what the tribe's been up to in the last year. And we honor our national treasures, which are our people who we are honoring as exemplary in their ability of maybe craftsmanship or as leadership or statesmen or just different things where we honor some of our different tribal leaders. Meeting the president and singing, that was all wrapped into one we were there for the opening of the National Museum of the American Indian. And so getting to do that walk down the mall with so many other tribal leaders and Native peoples, not just from North America, but from South America and Central America also. It was very, very impressive,
About President
George W. Yes. And then we were invited to a breakfast at the White House where there were 250 tribal leaders. And so that's what I have not ever been able to wrap my head around, is not only were we there with the president, but we were there with, the chairman and the chiefs of so many different tribal entities that it was pretty amazing. We were asked to come to sing for I believe it was an Episcopal camp meeting, a convocation they called it, up around Mobridge in the Standing Rock Reservation. And we took the choir up, and we weren't really sure what we were getting into. Well, the people were absolutely incredible, but there weren't any young people. There were some children, and then everybody else were elders, really. But those elders embraced our young people, and they would come to me, and the women would hold my hands, and they would cry, and they would say, "We want this for our young people. We want, when we see your young men stand up and not afraid to sing, not afraid to stand up in front of people, it really touches us." And then our kids, they just were like magnets to the little children. And they had softballs and frisbees, and they played and played and played. We would have to make them come in and sing, for the event. And watching our young men, Kathy's son is one of them, watching our young men and our young women cry as they drove off, just those children had touched them such a way. And they said, we realized that what the elders were saying, that because of drugs and alcohol and dropping out of school and all these different choices that students are making, I wish every tribe had I guess they all wouldn't have a Cherokee National Youth Choir, but would have a tribal choir for their young people. And really, if I can say one thing to anybody who's out there of any tribal heritage, and they say, this is something I want to do, I would encourage them, don't dummy down your program. hold a high standard of conduct, teach the children, the young people, give them opportunities to do things that stretch them beyond what they think they can do, encourage them, and introduce them to things that they would not ever see otherwise, because those kids will rise to the occasion every time. And it's amazing to me. It's Thursday night, August the 5th. It's at 7 p.m. in Tahlequah at the Cornerstone Fellowship Church.
Sure.
It's Principal Chief Chad Smith, and he is our number one fan. No, it doesn't. It doesn't. He is very much a part of this youth choir.
Well, no, first of all, it was for the language, mainly to help students or the young people to try to know their language, you know. You don't want to call it revitalized because the language is still there. It was just a part to help the kids understand that we want to keep the language going, and maybe this is a way of trying to keep it going. And then plus, when the music came through, and then when you have good singers, it just makes it that much better. But that was the main thing, was the language. We take them from, once they finish 6th grade, they can come on into the choir and they can audition all the way to 11th grade. Well, over the years, every year we hold quite a few. Well, we hold one audition the first of the year, and we always have students interested, and we have to turn some down, but there's always someone to fulfill what we need. Yes, we try not to go over 45, or I'll say 50. We've always had close to 50, but of course, the seniors that we have that year phase out of that year, so it always goes back down to about 40 students for the year. And we have parents that help us with that, with the sponsorship. They'll go along with us when we go, and a lot of coordination goes into it. You know, making sure we get there and finding someone to take us. You know, it's all involved. So we usually go through. Me and the director go through the music that we think would be good for that year, and we just select from what we have. You know, we don't have that many hymns that are translated, so now we're getting to where we translate some that we want to do, and then once we've decided that, we always go through our upper personnel, you know, our bosses, and see if they're in agreement with what we're going to do, and then that's how we decide, is that we just run it through them. And also, the last 2-3 years, we've been trying to coordinate it with the Cherokee National holiday, where, you know, the titles of our CDs would be the same as the holiday.
Doga flohila titani kisa Oga dathli sana tijani sana Yagwaduli dijigo watari Dini kana wadido dehi nogi Hajo asola sta nuga odala Dijala we started
Well, I'm a fluent speaker from learning it from home, that's my parents both were fluent speakers. And so that's all I learned. And growing up, except I guess I really do not remember transitioning from Cherokee to English. I don't know how I learned English. I do know when I entered school, I didn't know English at all. And I just remember being in third grade and being able to speak English. So that's how I grew up, was just with my parents talking to me. And then most of my family was Cherokee speaking. And then once I got into school, well, that all dramatically changed, that I was speaking English more than anything, because we had moved away from our community, which was full of Cherokee speakers, to a town called Muskogee. And where I went to school, I didn't really have anyone to talk Cherokee to there. So I had to learn English, and that's when it became an English world. In our community, probably, I'm going to say, I'm sure, I'm just going to guess 10,000 people probably, but that you could call fluent, but they are dying every day.
Yeah.
In our community, the fluent speakers are leaving every day. And that's what scares me, is that if my generation doesn't do anything right now, that's,
We have there's at least 3 different dialects. So.
Yes, it's the same with Cherokee. In every community, it's a different dialect. And so we go back to our translation of the songs. There's sometimes some of the kids say, well, I've heard it this way, or I've heard it this way. But I said, but I've heard it this way. So this is how, then that's how we'll have to sing it, because that's how I know it. But I always go through our upper translation department just to see if it's final. And, well, one time the director, Mary Kay, she could tell you a story about, there was a contemporary song that the kids really liked, and they fit some of the words of another tune into this contemporary song and made a Cherokee song, out of this. So it's easy. I mean, for them, it was easy to do with that one song, and we sing it on one of the CDs. So, you could just about translate anything, but it's so easy to do. It's mainly all gospel hymns.
Okay.
We have added some patriotic, but when I said contemporary, I meant contemporary gospel song that they had translated. So, and on this new CD, we are going to sing something that is not a traditional gospel hymn, but some lady wrote it, and we're gonna sing it for her this year on this new CD. Yes, there's one girl that's graduating this year that's going to go on into music. I hope she does some Cherokee when she gets out, but I really think they will.